Crookie, Bruno Fernandes, another assist, his 18th assist of the season.
He's going to break that record.
3 more, as Anne says. He breaks the record. He doesn't equal it like Kevin De Bruyne did for Thierry Henry. He will stand on more than that. Are we looking at the PFA Player of the Year here?
Probably not, in all honesty, because it's going to go to whoever wins the league. You think if it's Arsenal, probably a Declan Rice or a Gabriel. If it's a Manchester City, probably an Antoine Semenyo. But certainly the best of the rest is Bruno Fernandes, his prize. And he's been such a driving force in this team. Obviously, he's had a lot of flack along the way from rival supporters, from pundits, and at times from United supporters as well. But he's just got that touch of class. You know, it wasn't a brilliant performance, but the one moment of quality in the game has led to the goal. And as good as Cunha's finish was, it was the play down by the corner flag from Bruno that really teed him up. And yeah, I think he will go on and break the record. Just on Garnacho, karma can be a beautiful thing in football, can't it? And I don't think it was a coincidence that Luke Shaw put that post up. I think it was deliberate, and I think that tells you that he was as unpopular with his teammates as he was with the fans by the time he left. And if we're going to credit the old manager for anything, I guess it is weeding the rats out of the dressing room.
Oh, strong words from Crookie. But do you know what, though? On a serious note, you could feel it and see it. So after the game, I was observing that the players weren't going up to Garnacho, even as a former player, giving him a bit of a hug. You know, and then a lot of the Instagram comments, you know, they were very comical under Luke Shaw's post. Like Joshua Zirkzee was in the comments section. Bruno was posting, "That's a violation," laughing emojis from some of the boys. So it looked to be, in Kobbie Mainoo had laughing emojis up on Luke Shaw's post. So that does suggest that, yeah, he didn't leave on great terms. I know Garnacho did an interview just before this game saying there were things I did that were wrong, etc. So, look, yeah, I get it.
And now Chelsea want to sell him, which is the ultimate irony.
Yeah, and ultimately, exactly, Chelsea want to sell him after a year. Jamie, for you, just to keep the needle on Bruno Fernandes at the minute, I saw Samuel Luckhurst do a piece at The Sun sort of suggesting that in the mix zone after speaking to Senny Lummans, he suggested that, you know, Bruno will also be staying at the football club. How imperative is it that he stays? And do you think that's even a conversation piece? Is it like, no, United are going to get Champions League, Carrick probably be the manager, Bruno wants to stay and achieve big things, or do you still worry that his future may not be here in the summer?
Well, I mean, I think he's obviously stand out, not only United's best player and has been since he signed, was it 2020? Mm-hmm. But he's, you know, top 2 or 3 in the league. I hear what Alex is saying about why he might not get the Player of the Year or the PFA. But I tell you what, if you're a pro, which is obviously who votes for this, you know, the players in the Premier League, I can't see how you could see past him. Will he leave? Well, he's nearly left once. He did that interview, do you remember? I think with the Portuguese FA, which is a bit odd.
Yeah.
That one. The time. I don't
Saying
know
he didn't feel like they did enough to keep him. And
and all this palaver. Now, at the time, you could read that, and I think it's fair enough, as maybe preparing the ground a little bit for a possible exit post the World Cup. So nothing surprised me in football. I understand what you mean, but I never agree with this thing, you can't afford to sell a player, especially if you're Manchester United, because you're Manchester United, but I do get it because he's so good. I wouldn't be surprised either way. And I know that sounds like I'm sitting on the fence, I probably am, you know, whether he leaves or not. But he is a heck of a player. I've never quite understood the criticism. Someone who sort of saw him or sees him every home game in a way in Europe when United are in Europe. And I see a lot of Bruno Fernandes. Very rare he has a bad game. He might have a bad passage in a game where he, you know, makes the odd. But I just didn't get it. I thought it was jealousy. And this whole thing about him being petulant, I don't buy that either. If Roy Keane had been in this team,
100%,
that would have gone down as petulant because it would have been in a sort of losing team or a not successful team. And so therefore, what sort of comes across as a strength when you're winning, and don't get me wrong, Keane was a massive force for why they were winning. But, you know, in this team, he would have been looked upon as a moaner and a whinger. That's the difference. That's all it is.
100% agree.
Fernandes is, you know, an amazing player.
Is that a testament to Carrick, Jamie? Is it that he might stay after this? Because under Amorim, it felt like he might have been pushing, or I'm playing in a 6th position. What is this? Where are we going here? And then all of a sudden, Michael Carrick's come in. We've beat all the teams that Crookie's just mentioned, and some more to come potentially. Michael Carrick gets the job. We're in the Champions League. The club are clearly trying to invest properly into midfield and other areas, and he might sort of look at the project differently with Carrick since he's come in.
Well, that's what I was going to say about this interview with the Portuguese FA. While Amorim was in place, and I wonder if it was to do this ridiculous antiquated, stuck in its way, sort of 3-4-3 with him as a, as a number 8, which he can play because he's a class player. But so yeah, I hear what you're saying. I think it's a very good point. I think it'd be excellent business, great news, attractive a player sort of thing if Fernandes does stay. He's still only 31. He's got that classic physique, a bit like Ryan Giggs, because he's just built for football. He's not necessarily stocky or muscular. He's just lithe. Yes, and he never gets injured, right?
Never.
I mean, the odd injury when
he had a dodgy hamstring this year, and he was back within sort of a week, I think it was. Like that.
Yeah, he's about 2 weeks out the whole time.
In his whole life.
Yeah.
He's priceless because it's obvious to say any player, if they're injured all the time, like, sorry to say it, Martinez is serially injured. Good player, but he's not much use when you come to the sort. If you want to be ruthless about it, he's not much use if you can't play a player. So yeah, I think the and I'm going to contradict myself a little bit. I think they should definitely do everything they can to keep him. But on the other hand, if it's 125 million or 100 million from Saudi, again, I wouldn't take it, but I could see the sort of logic if you look at Elliot Anderson and another big, massive
from a business perspective.
I don't think they should sell him.
Yeah, Crookie, we do want to ask you about some links regarding transfers. There's been some reports from the Telegraph. James Ducker has reported that Aurelien Tchouameni of Real Madrid is on Manchester United list of potential targets to rebrand, to redo, to rebuild the Manchester United midfield in the summer. Have you heard anything about that? And if not, if so, what's your thoughts on him as a player to come in?
Well, James is usually really well sourced, so I'd imagine there is some substance to this link. Camavinga's mentioned in the same article. I think he's definitely a player that Real Madrid are open to offers for. And the reason I think Tchouameni makes a lot of sense, he has a lot of the same characteristics as Casemiro, which is obviously going to be a big part of the summer, how you replace him. I thought he played really well again at Chelsea on Saturday night. And players from outside the Premier League tend to be more cost effective, certainly in terms of transfer fees. Obviously, command big wages being a Real Madrid player, which maybe would go against a little bit of what Ineos are trying to do. Obviously, we know the names that are out there from within the Premier League. Sandro Tonali, although I keep being told that if he had his way, he would go back to Italy, maybe AC Milan, rather than swap Premier League clubs. Elliot Anderson, who Manchester City are keen on. Adam Wharton, who I reported last week, Liverpool are keen on. Obviously, Carlos Baliba is a link going back to the summer and the January window. So the names are well documented. I think they do need 2 midfielders.
Minimum.
Because Ugarte is going to go. For obvious reasons, and Casemiro, as I mentioned, and the squad just, I think what we've seen in the last couple of games against Leeds and against Chelsea is the squad is really light, even when they're only playing minimal number of games a season. When it comes to the Champions League, you like to think the domestic cup runs were going a lot longer next year, and they did this. Suddenly you're talking about playing 60, 70 games a season, so the squad looks really short. The other name that's come up to me a couple of times, and again, this might tie in with what happens with Bruno Fernandes, is Morgan Gibbs-White at Nottingham Forest. If they are looking for a more attack-minded midfielder, quietly, he's had a really good season at Forest. He's scored more goals this season than at any other point in his career. And I think if they don't win the Europa League and therefore get Champions League football, I think he's a player who will be looking to move on and push on for that next level. By the way, how grateful is he that Marinakis blocked him joining Tottenham?
Yes, exactly. On the cusp of something special. Also, and look where Spurs are, exactly. So we'll have to see how that plays out. Crookie, just before you go, we play Brentford at home Monday night. Not counting any chickens before they've hatched, because I tried to do that against Leeds and I got stung. But, what type of performance are you looking at, and what do you think the result will be?
Good time to play Brentford. I think I was there at the G-Tech against Everton a couple of weeks ago. They drew 2-2, but they weren't quite at the same levels they were earlier in the season. Obviously played out a dour 0-0 draw at home to Fulham, which kept our talkSPORT listeners royally entertained on Saturday. So their form has tailed off a little bit. I think this is a game at home that United need to win. I'd like to see them start a little bit faster, well, a lot faster than they did against Leeds. And it still seems to me that, the second half of games are better under Carrick than the first. But if they do that, I think they can get the 3 points. And that would pretty much cement it, wouldn't it? Depending on what happens elsewhere this weekend. One more win, I think, and United are guaranteed top 5.
Crookie, get yourself off, get some dry toast with no butter on it. Start slowly, get yourself back fit and firing again.